hello YouTube world. We are back with another edition of Novation Circuit Jam. This one's going to be slightly different, but we'll talk about that in a minute. Before we get started, let's go around and introduce the crew. I am Casey. I will be moderating this wonderful event, and the other people on the screen are my team. Before we go ahead and introduce the usual faces, we've got a brand new addition to the team, although not too brand new right now. She's been with the team for about a year. You've seen her wonderful hands on our Novation TV page under her Trovarsi Connects project. So if you haven't checked those out, go over and check it out at Novation TV. Welcome to the Novation team and Circuit Jam, Mrs. Shanda Nunez. Hey, Shanda.
Hey.
How you doing?
I'm awesome. I'm doing great. I'm so happy to be a part of this team.
We're happy to have you. You're an amazing fit. We were super lucky to get you, and we're extremely pleased with having you on board. So this Circuit Jam is a little different than the previous ones, because in this one we're actually going to do a head-to-head with circuit tracks and circuit rhythm. Mrs. Shanda Nunez was actually kind enough to go ahead and create some packs for both tracks and a rhythm. Shanda, want to tell us a little bit about how you did it?
Sure. Well, as some of you may or may not know, I'm heavily into Eurorack modular hardware in general. So I took the circuit rhythm and I made some patches. I sampled some of my favorite modules, Trinity, WMD percussion modules, and ran them through different effects. And yeah, and sampling into the circuit rhythm makes it really easy to just either sample like loops. I really took advantage of that fixed loop feature, so I put some extended loops on there for you guys to use. And then also the one-shots, and be able to like truncate those and save those and then manipulate them more. So it was fun. And
very,
easy.
very cool.
Yeah.
So basically, both of everybody who's using tracks and everyone who's using rhythm have access to the same samples and some of the presets as well, which Shanda was kind enough to go ahead and turn into one shots for everybody. So, Shanda, where are you based?
I am in the LA area.
Excellent.
Outside of LA, yep.
For those of you who don't know and haven't been on the previous versions, I am based in Miami, Florida. It's actually raining here right now, so if you get some thunder and some annoying rain in the background, please ignore it. Mr. Evan Weiss, where are you at?
I'm in Chicago.
Very
Beautiful
cool.
76 degrees today. Going to catch the Cubs game later.
Nice.
Yeah.
Mr. Kody Stanridge, where are you today?
Yeah, we're out here in Portland, Oregon, and the sun finally came out, so looking pretty in the Pacific Northwest.
And Mr. John D. Nicola, a.k.a. Johnny Podcast, the reigning circuit champion, people's champ. Where are you located?
Here in New York City.
Very, very cool. So like I said, this is a very different circuit jam than the previous ones we've had before, since again we're going to be using both circuits. The team split directly down the middle with me moderating, so you're going to have 2 rhythm tracks and 2 tracks. So without further ado, I think we're going to go ahead and start off with a pack creator herself, Mrs. Shanda Nunez. You're going to be first up, so let's go ahead and get you in the box.
All right. Okay, let me switch my camera.
There you go.
Okay. All right, I'm in the hot seat. Love it. Okay, well, you're here. I'm here for the techno, you guys, so okay. Let's see. I'm going to do that. Let's get... Oh, and that BPM. I'm going to bump that up to 138, so you guys better get ready to rock it right now, okay?
Let's go.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to use some parameter locking, I think, in case I want to make some changes later. Let's see, I'm going to go here. Techno definitely needs more percussion, so... I like to record in some of the movements on the length. It gives it a little extra shuffle. Let's see. Yeah, nice. Okay. And let's see. Definitely need to get another sound happening in here. It wouldn't be techno without some sort of I don't know, some kind of horn thing or something. I know I put one in here. Add some reverb on there. It's too dry. Or Alright, let's see. I like 90s style techno, so I definitely prefer claps over snares. Let's see. Let's go here. Let's see. Make another clap pattern here. We're going to use later. I'm going to go back to this pattern that I made previously. I'm going to duplicate that. And let's take a look at that. Actually, no, I did not duplicate it. Let me just duplicate that quick. And mutate it. So now, let's see, let me jump back to there. And now, I like to take these sort of patterns and make them to kind of perform with. So first I'm going to make sure I'm just going to save that to the first scene and turn on the mute states. So I can take advantage of that. I don't have to waste the pattern just for the sake of muting the sound. And I'm going to go back here. And I'll save it to this scene. Save that again. And I'm going to duplicate that. And turn it on there. The kick back on. Save that one. Let's see. Let's make it a little longer. 32 steps. Alright, let's see. I want to add one more sound, I think, in here, just to kind of give a little bass or something. Let's see. Where did I put those? Let's see. Let's do a little side chain. Get a little pump. Probably good right there, I think. I don't know. I think I'm done.
All
All
right.
right.
Sounds
Yeah.
good. Solid. Felt like I was in a warehouse right there.
Oh yeah.
Let's hit it.
All right. Good job for
Cool.
your first inaugural circuit jam.
Cool,
Happy to have you on
thanks.
board.
Yeah.
Good stuff there. So let's see who is next. Let's have a tracks team member here. I think we're gonna go with Mr. Johnny Podcast in the hot box.
All right, here we go. All right, so
okay.
I guess I'm just done right there, right?
Oh man.
All right, so normally I'll come at this with the beat first, come out with some drum parts. But since Shanda curated some patches for us, I was kind of auditioning some of these, and one of these kind of stuck right out of me, right? This one here. Now, at the normal 120 BPM, kind of sounds like something that was in the techno EDM range. But when I listened to this the first time, I actually had my tempo down. So let me go to synth 1. I'm going to actually put this sound in there. I'm going to sequence it. I'm going to go to gate and have it play that whole bar. So now you hear it just like you did before, except an octave higher. But when I heard it the first time, I was actually down here around the mid-80s. Kind of changes the whole vibe, right? So let's get some percussion going to go with that. There's some toms here, right? So like a... All right, so let's record something, and I have my quantize on. Let's see. Just to get something a little started, and that can be kind of a cool intro. But we're gonna need some more drums when this starts hitting, right? So let's go to drum 1, let's get a kick going. Maybe a little distortion on that. There we go. Let's place that. Okay, let's get some claps going. Or maybe we'll go with the snap. And some hi-hats. I'm gonna shorten this up with the filter and raise it up a little bit. I'm just gonna lay it across everywhere here. I'm gonna use micro steps to add some triplets, maybe some glitching. Now let's record a little movement there like Shanda was doing before. We're gonna do it with the pitch. All right. Let's get one more sound going in there. So I'm gonna go over to synth 2. And let's take a look. I think right next to that other sound, we had this kind of a cool bass that's moving around. It's probably hard to hear right now, but again, I'm gonna use that sound and play it a few octaves higher. That's kind of cool. Maybe one more octave higher. Kind of like that effect. Yeah, let's get a little effects on that. Go to the effects, go to the delay, send that in there. Turn it down. Come back to where we were. There we go.
Johnny Podcast
Nice.
coming in with the hotness as
Sick.
usual.
Johnny Podcast.
Never
Nice.
fails.
Always
just
a
want-
smile on my
Can't
face.
miss Johnny. Good
Wanted to
stuff.
switch it up a little bit, slow it down, but yeah, it just shows the flexibility of the packs.
Yeah, it was very cool. You flipped it with the BPM switch, and then it turned into something completely different. So nice work there.
Nice.
Makes
Let's
sense.
see who else has a rhythm. I believe it's Evan. Evan, you're the rhythm guy, right? All right,
sure
let's
am.
go. Evan, you're in the hot box.
Awesome. Yeah, so I am using Circuit Rhythm, which is different from the Circuit Tracks. Circuit Rhythm is a sampler, so we have 8 tracks that we can, or 8 sections that we can sample into with a different sample on, or we can do sample flipping, lots of fun stuff. I'll show you that in just a second. But first, we're going to go to a blank project, and we're going to start on track 1. And track 1, I usually keep as my kick drum. I'm living in Chicago, so you know I love house music, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to turn the tempo up to 128. Track 1, let's find a good kick. Turn my headphones up. I like this one, but I'm going to distort it, low pass it, and then turn the slope down so it's not as boomy, because techno kicks are very, boomy. I'm going to go for something more housey, so I'm going to shorten this one up a little bit. That sounds good. I'm going to go ahead. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hit play. We got a 4 on the floor pattern. I'm going to go ahead and duplicate that. So now we have 2 pages. So this is a 32-step pattern. And I'm going to add some variety here some extra kicks, but I'm going to turn the velocity down on these kicks, as well as add probability to these kicks. So this is going to play 33% of the time, and it's going to add some variation every time this pattern loops through. So let's go to track 2. Let's find some hi-hats, some percussion. I'm going to record this in live. Shorten that slope up a little bit. Let's go to track 3. Now we can actually record in some automation on these knobs here. So if I just hit record and I start messing with these knobs, the circuit will remember what I did. So there we go. So we have a basic groove going on, and the more you use the circuit, the more you'll start to understand your own workflow. For me, these first 4 tracks are usually percussion, usually have kick, 2 hi-hats, and then 4 I'll do a clap or a snare. So we're on track 4 now. Let's find a clap or a snare. And there was one really cool one in here I liked, Shanda. Yeah. This one's cool. A little trick I like to do is I like to low pass my clap sometimes and then add distortion. And then maybe high pass it, take out some of that low end. So let's turn it down. And you know what? We can add some swing to this. There we go. So first 4 tracks, I always have percussion. On track 8, I usually have my main sample or my main melody line. So let's go ahead. We have track 8 open, and let's find something melodic. I like this one. Maybe let's pitch it down. Yeah, that's real nice. Okay, so I'm going to add this note to this step here, but this pattern is going to be too short, so I'm going to go ahead, activate that second page, then I'm going to go into pattern settings and turn the sync rate down. So now we can see this page is moving a lot slower than this page. And then let's add a second note to the second page. That one, boom. I'm going to mix this a little here. The hi-hats are a little loud. Go to effects, let's add some reverb to our pad here. Maybe a little bit of delay. Yeah. I'm gonna high pass the pad a little bit, take out some of that low end. And let's sidechain the pad as well, so the kick is going to duck that pad every time it hits. Okay, cool. We got something going here. Let's go for a bass line. So on track 7, I'll usually do a bass line of some sort. So let's find a good... there it is. Okay. So I'm going to shorten the slope here so it doesn't ring out quite as much. Maybe hard to hear on the internet, but I can hear it pretty nice in my headphones. Okay, cool. So I'm going to make a bass line with this sample here. We can go to Note. And on the rhythm, you can actually play samples chromatically, which is really nice. And if I hit note again, we have 2 octaves. We can shift the octaves up and down, all that fun stuff. But for now, I'm gonna make sure I have my second page open, so I have a 32-step pattern going. And I'm going to record in a bass line. Go. Let's get some reverb on this clap here. And actually, you know what we're going to do is we're going to automate the effects here. So on that first snap, I'm going to have the reverb off, and on the second one, I'm going to turn the reverb up, and I can actually record this automation in. So let's go ahead and do that. Right on. Okay, so track 6, let's add like a melodic element, maybe a lead of some sort. Okay, can work with this. Let's pitch it up. Cool. Let's add some delay to it. So right now I'm playing around with my mute states. I just added a scene. I'm going to pause it right here. On this scene, if I activate mute states, I have everything going. But for this breakdown, I kind of want something else. So I'm going to turn everything off except for that lead and the main pad. Hold shift, create a scene. And now we can play with the filter. Start adding stuff in. Oh, I'm not done yet. Let's bring it back.
There he is.
Yeah. Just kidding. So, yeah, these are...
That was great.
Very cool.
Nice.
Good stuff there. Yeah, I like that you got in there and you actually got to the performance effects and showed around some stuff. We're going to talk a little bit more about the differences between the two circuits when everyone's done. But yeah, I appreciate that you had the wherewithal to go ahead and explain a little bit why you're getting your jam on. So good stuff there, Evan. Nice. Last but not least, that leaves us with Mr. Kody Stamridge and the Hotbox jamming on tracks.
All right, let's go to an empty project here. Shanda did an amazing job with this pack here. I'm gonna go down, like she mentioned, there's some great percussion in here, and I found this like chant thing in here, so we're gonna play with that a little bit to start with. And I'm just gonna shorten up so it's just that little hit, and then filter out the low end with a little effects knob. Here's the high pass, low pass kind of knob. Cool. Get a little bit more out of that. Set that on 2 and 4 real quick, and let's set our tempo before we get into things too much. So we're gonna go down to 95 because that's a great party tempo, I feel like. Cool. And then so I just laid this down on 2 and 4 real quick, so we'll hit play. Kind of get us going here. Let's add some more percussion stuff. There's so much fun stuff to play with in here. Wait. Cool. Cool, so let's get into the synthesizers because that's the fun part of tracks. So we got a little bit of a percussion beat going, so I can get a little melody going real quick. Let me just sit down some notes here. Let's go to our scale. Let's set our scale. I like C minor. I know this is minor, so I'm just gonna go and pick my root note. So I'm gonna go minor, C minor, and then that sets us up there. And then I kind of want to add a little bit of variation to this because it's just the same note playing over again. So let's start there. And then we'll go to our second. So if you notice there, I hit duplicate and the 116, 1732 button right here. So it just doubles my length. So that way on the first section, I can kind of play around there and then I can program some other little things in here. So let's see what that first one sounds like. I like that on the first part though. So let's do that on the first one. I'll switch over. And then Get rid of these. And that one, and maybe this one. Let's see what that sounds like. Just go down the scale, you know? It's an easy way to make a cool little melody. So we're gonna go up to our patches here and try a couple different patches out. I kind of like that. Little effects. A little reverb. Big reverb. Why not? Big reverb. Okay, let's get some more drums going on. We got our percussion. Let's do kick and snare. So you notice like Evan was doing each drums on one track. I like to do a few drums on one track. So we'll go into first our snare sound. Do that one. It's kind of got that ending on it though, so I'm gonna chop that off with the release. So it kind of gives us a nice like hit with that. And then let's get a kick drum to go with it. Sounds kind of clicky. Cool. I don't know, it sounded a little low for me. I think it's more. There we go. There we go. Just distort it. Whenever it's not sounding right, distort it. Cool. Let's clear that out. Get a little bit more of it. Let's do that kick. I like that kick better. Duplicate this over so we can get a little variation on the second part. So now we're sounding more like a track here. Hey, okay. Let's do our hi-hats. Where are they at? There we are. Hey, okay. Alright, so we got some percussion, we got our drums, we got our hi-hats, we got a melody. Let's kind of tweak it a little bit, this sound. A little oscillator mod. A little resonance in the filter frequency. Kick the effects, let's see what the effects sound like. Nice, and just turn it down just a little bit. So now we just need a big old bass. Yeah, I think this throws all the fatties. Okay, so let's program a little something. I know I definitely want that like downbeat note, and then I'm gonna go to my gate and open that up. I'm gonna do 8 steps real quick, and then we'll switch back. I like the high. So we'll get like kind of a little 2 steps on each of those, and we'll gate those. I'm just gating so that the release of the note goes, so whenever you hit play, you can see. Holds out for that little bit, and then we just need a little second part, so it's let's do the gate and then back to our notes. Yeah, and we'll go back up. Okay, cool. And then gate that a little bit and back to our note. There it is. Cool. Okay, and then gate that real quick. Cool. Maybe a little side chain to the drums. Cool. And then we'll do our mute states real quick, and then we can just mute all of this. Shift hit that right there. Get our little start up real quick. Oh, one more fun thing. Let's do one more fun thing while we're here. Let's mute that. Patterns. Let's duplicate this over so we have it down here as well too. And then I'm gonna go to note and then hit shift and octave up twice. Maybe just once. So it gives us a little. And then we'll put that right here. We don't need it right there. We'll get rid of that. So now we get this little, what I'm doing is setting up these scenes with these mute states, so that way I can kind of DJ it basically. And this kind of gives us a little chant and a little build. And then you can drop it. Yeah, something like that.
Nice.
Nicely done,
Nice,
Mr.
Kody.
Stanrich. Good stuff. Before we dive deep into the conversation, let's do a recap of what everyone came up with. So let's start with you, Shanda. Let's go with you. I'll throw you back on the hot box. Just go ahead and hit play on what your
Camera
final
down
project
or
was.
just
Camera down. Yeah. Super technoed out. Nice. Very cool. Next up was John, right?
Yep.
Yep.
All right, let's hear what you had. As different as you can get, and head nodding is as all head nodding is head nodding. Next up was Evan, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And last but not least, Mr. Kody Stanrich.
Yeah. Let's see.
Four very different flavors from four very different producers. That was fun. Good stuff. So one thing that we probably should go ahead and speak about for users who, or people that are joining us that aren't familiar completely with the differences between rhythm and tracks are they look very similar. They have some of the same layout, some of the same functionality, but they are two very different units. Yes, I'm going to go ahead and go big screen right now for Kody, since he was kind enough to go ahead and do that. So let's jump over here. So Tracks is a 4-part drum sequencer, 2-part synthesizer, and 2-part MIDI tracks for external gear, right? So your drum parts can be external samples that you can actually go ahead and drag and drop into components and create sound packs for it. The synth engine in Tracks is actually a full-fledged synth engine that you can unlock all the synth parameters with components, which Kody is kind enough to show us right now. So you can actually go ahead, you can create your synth patches from scratch using a full-fledged synth engine that's built into Tracks. And that's what you're seeing right now. And then there's 2 extra MIDI tracks on Tracks to bring in external gear, which we didn't do here today. But if you have, a couple of pieces of external hardware that you actually want to go ahead and sequence via Tracks, you can go ahead and do that and actually feed them back into Tracks through 2 inputs that we have there. So they're actually mixed together within Tracks and come out of your main outputs of Tracks combined together. So it's all sounds nice and cohesive and like a full-fledged, mastered out track. So that's Tracks. Shanda, let me take a look at Rhythm, please. And I'll drag you to the hotbox. So again, look very similar. And some of the functionality is the same, but Rhythm is a very different instrument to Tracks. And that's because Rhythm is an 8-track sampler. Dedicated hardcore sampler that you actually has sample inputs in the back. You can actually plug in equipment or turntables or whatever you'd like to and actually record directly into the unit itself. You can edit on the unit, your start points, your end points, your loop points, and actually build out fully fledged sample-based tracks on Rhythm. One of the cool things that Rhythm has that is not on Tracks, in lieu of Tracks having dedicated synth engines that you can actually go ahead and build your synth patches with, Rhythm opts to go another way, which results in having grid effects, which you can actually go ahead and perform with live. Evan touched a little bit on grid effects when he was doing his demo. But there is actually grid effects, repeaters, reversers, gators actually on board. You can actually go ahead and actually perform live with. Shanda, would you mind giving me a very quick demo of some of the grid effects? I don't think we got a good enough experience with them doing the live jam.
Sure.
That's a gator. Right. Repeater. Give me something else. Automated filter. Phaser.
Yep.
Cool.
I like that you can edit, so you can change it. Like if you don't want, and then
very cool. So yeah, so that's some of the things that make the two units stand out between each other. So again, Rhythm, a dedicated 8-track sampler. Tracks a groovebox with actual synthesizers on board with 4 parts drums and the ability to feed some other instruments into the unit, as well as sending MIDI out to other units to control external gear, right? So it really depends on what you want to do and what your mindset coming to music is. If you're somebody who actually goes through and listens to music on a regular basis and it's like, oh man, I really love that sample, I want to grab that kick or grab that snare, or maybe that synth part and you want to rearrange it. Maybe Rhythm is more for you. But if you're somebody who wants to go ahead and actually grab, or just sit down on your couch and throw on some headphones and actually kind of sculpt out the beginnings of a fully freshed out track, and then be able to take your product into your studio or wherever you have, wherever your external gear is, and plug in, your external gear into tracks and actually build on top of what you got. Tracks might be for you as well. So Kody, was there a reason why you picked tracks to utilize in this circuit jam over Rhythm, or?
Yeah, definitely. I think with Shanda making the pack, I knew I was going to do something electronic, so I wanted to have something that I could do some really good melodies with. So I really like the scale mode on tracks. It's something that I can easily start to come up with melodies, and I don't really have to worry about hitting the wrong notes and that kind of thing. And also, I just wanted to have the synth engines as well, too, to have a couple different patches I could play with. Check out what she liked there, and then what I could build off of that, basically. So those two things were a really big draw for me.
Very cool. Shanda, you actually started out with tracks and wanted to switch to Rhythm. So what made you want to do that?
at first I love synths, and so I was like, oh, tracks. But then like the more I was able to get into sampling so fast and using the rhythm, and then being able to use all my modular sounds and things like that, I was like, yeah, let me try to see, like, I'm gonna make the pack and then actually utilize it on the machine as well. So I don't know, I just wanted to be able to use all eight parts to be able to use samples on. Yeah, and have fun.
Worked out. Came out pretty solid. So
yeah.
Evan, same question for you. You were team rhythm, so why'd you go with rhythm over tracks?
Yeah, team rhythm. Recently I've been using samplers a lot to make music, and it kind of gets me out of my comfort zone a little bit, because the sample pack that Shanda made is like very techno heavy, and I love techno, but I'm more of a house guy. But having those samples kind of forces you to mangle them and sculpt them into something that maybe you're more familiar with. So it kind of opens up this door of creativity, using samples that are kind of out of your wheelhouse and applying them to how you would normally make music. So yeah, this was a really fun jam using Shanda's samples. In addition to that, I really do like the chromatic, the ability to play samples chromatically, which is one thing that rhythm can do. So you can make melody lines with different samples. You can also chop up loops. It's just a different way of working. If you want to get more, hands-on with synthesis and a synth engine, then yeah, you want to go tracks. But if you want to sculpt samples and audio files, which is kind of what I'm into right now, rhythm is the way to go. So yeah, that's why I picked rhythm.
you showed some good examples of actually playing back your samples chromatically, which is really great. And yeah, that's a very big difference between tracks and rhythm. With tracks, you can play things chromatically with your synth patches that you actually create or download or do anything, because you have two dedicated synth engines. On rhythm, however, the ability to actually go ahead and actually play back your samples chromatically, fine tune them, pitch them to wherever you want to be, and then actually play them back from that root note to wherever you want to be is something that's comes up with some pretty unique ideas and flows going on. So yeah, that's a big one, is playing back chromatic samples on rhythm. John, why did you pick tracks over rhythm?
Yeah, I mean, I think when we first decided to do it, and I was thinking about it, I always like really to use the scale mode that tracks offers. As you pointed out, because you have those synth engines in there, maybe a little more flexibility with different notes that you can play. So you can there's actually, in addition to the chromatic keyboard, like if I show you this real quickly on the note page, and actually Kody went over this really well, but just one more time, if you hit scale, you can get your chromatic view. Of course, I missed it there. Let's go. Scales, you can look at your chromatic view here, and then that kind of looks like what you get on tracks. But then you also have all the scales that Kody mentioned. So you have your minor, major, different scale types here. And so that's a lot of fun, especially for this kind of event, because you can, once you have that set, your synth 1 and 2 and even your MIDI tracks will all sync to that scale. So it's pretty hard to hit a wrong note. So it's kind of my little cheat code, I guess you could say.
Definitely.
Very, very good for you to point that out. And I'm glad you mentioned that, because I actually didn't mention it when I was doing the rundown between the two units. Yeah. So another thing for tracks of being a pretty great groovebox is scale modes. Like you said, you can actually lock whatever your unit to a certain scale, and whatever you play on the pads, will be in scale from the scale you picked. And not only what you're playing on the unit itself, but other MIDI you're sending out to your external gear will be locked to scale as well, which is huge.
Yeah,
so,
and you can even change it after the fact, and it kind of transposes it, and so yeah, it gives you some cool creative options too, even after.
Definitely. So, if from hearing the differences of between the two products, I think you can see that we being in Novation, spent some decent time figuring out, based on your workflow, whether you're in a sample flow or in a groovebox flow, what features will be needed for either one. So, again, going back to playing back chromatic samples on rhythm, that kind of makes up for not having the type of feature set that you do from having a full-fledged synth, right? From being able to lock into scale on on tracks, or being able to play polyphonic notes on tracks, although you can't do that on rhythm. Again, finding full-fledged chords, you may be able to actually play those back chromatically, kind of gives you that workaround, and you kind of end up with the same ability, quote unquote, just from a different workflow, which again comes up with some really cool and creative ideas, I think. One thing we didn't talk about were some of the features that came out in Rhythm 2.0. So there was 4 major firmware updates. 4 major aspects to the firmware updates in Rhythm. One of them that we didn't show was beat mapping. So basically beat matching. You can grab a sample into Rhythm itself, edit the sample so it has a a perfect start and a perfect endpoint, and you can match that loop, however you edited it, to the BPM of your project, so everything will fall in line. We didn't get a good demo of that, but it's something that's pretty powerful, and it helps you actually get things in sync pretty quickly.
You want me to show it real quick? I can show it real quick.
Look at Evan taking the bull by the horns. Yeah, let's make it happen.
Yeah, let's do it. Cool. So yeah, new project, track 1, just a little kick drum here. Nothing fancy, not gonna mess with it. And then let's find like one of these loops. Okay, here's a loop. So yeah, I'm gonna hit play. I'm gonna put that sample on the first step, but we can hear it's not in time, right? So if we go to sample mode, we have these 2 squares here. So if we hit this one, it's gonna tune the sample down to beat match the tempo, which I have at 125 right now. So let's hear what that sounds like. Alternatively, we can tune it up. Kind of crazy. I would probably keep it down at this point, but yeah, super handy feature to have. So you can do that with any loop, any melodic loop, any percussion loop. Yeah, it's called beat matching.
Yeah, so it's one of the powerful features, that we added in, again, firmware 2.0 for Rhythm. It helps it very quickly cut down some time in your workflow by being able to find cool samples, throw them into your unit, and actually, edit it properly, start and end point, and actually get it into sync with your project, which is great. Aside from that, we also had fixed length recording. Anyone want to give a very quick explanation of that? Yeah, go ahead, Shanda.
Well, I actually used it to make those loops, which made it seamless to be able to do the sampling. So let me just jump down here. And so these red indicators are indicating empty slots versus these white ones which already have samples in them. But once you select one, and you have this option here, and once you touch it, it says fixed. So now you have 8, 16, 34, you have the steps here where you can decide. So I made 16 stepped loops for you guys, so you could. I made all the loops in the pack 16 steps. So now once I hit record and play, and it stops at exactly 16 steps, which is great.
Yeah, so basically it's a very simple way to make sure that when you are sampling something into Rhythm itself, that you have a very definitive start and end point, right? So you know exactly how long that your sample is going to be. So, for example, in some of the stuff that Shanda's doing on her Trovarsi Connects series on Novation TV, if you haven't checked those out, go there and check it out. She's using some Eurorack modular gear, and so she's it's synced to the clock on Rhythm itself. So when she hits start, it plays back in sync, but she can fix record and actually make sure that she's recording a perfect loop, because she knows when she hits start, it's going to start recording, and when she hits stop, that's going to stop recording, and then the loop will be a perfect length at that perfect time, and she can go back and play in time with her project, right? So another super powerful feature that we added to Rhythm in 2.0. Mute states are something that I believe that Shanda and Evan both utilized. Actually, no, yeah, Shanda and Evan both utilized in their demo. Quick explanation of mute states. Basically, you can actually just have your scene remember what tracks were muted and which tracks weren't. So you can actually go ahead and build start building your track in succession. By taking away some parts and adding some parts going on down the road. So you can actually start composing and building an arrangement using your mutes and your mute states. So that's a very simple way to explain that. And finally, I think Shanda actually showed some of that just now when she was demoing on Grid Effects, is the ability to edit your effects parameters on the fly, right? So previously in the older versions of Rhythm, you couldn't edit your effects on the fly like you can now. You would have to go to components and edit your time signatures or how your depth rates or anything like that. But currently, we have that performance ability to do that on Rhythm now. So that's a big update, and everyone was pretty pleased with that. So if you weren't aware of firmware 2.0 for Rhythm, it is out now. If you're a Rhythm user, you can go ahead and grab that and download it and get up to speed with the rest of the team that you saw here today. Let's see. Any questions in the chat? I don't see anything that's pressing.
I just wanted to make a little quick note on the beat matching is a really great tool for doing lo-fi. So if you do any lo-fi hip hop, the beat matching, you just do the beat matching on the lower setting and do some down tempo for your tempo, and you can get some really cool effects out of it.
Very, very cool. I see a lot of thanks in the chats, which is great. So thank you all for tuning in and hanging out with us and saying that you like the product so much and that you appreciate everyone jamming out so much. Little parting gift for us. In the YouTube window, we've gone ahead and sent and dropped in a link to the really cool pack that Shanda went ahead and created for us. There, all the stuff that's in there. Some of it's a hodgepodge of, I believe you got the presets, the synth presets from which pack?
So big shout out to Shadow Child. Not only did I pull some from the standard ones that come, but then also if you go to components, in case you're not aware, there are other artists that made packs that are free that you can try out their presets, their samples, and he made some really great presets. So I was like, let's just load up some of those on there as well. But they're in the pack. So if you click on the download link, you get both the Circuit Rhythm and the Circuit Tracks packs.
And in those samples, there's, the actual samples themselves, the drum samples that aren't presets. You actually went ahead and created those yourself from your own personal Eurorack module. So
exactly. Yes.
Those are super exclusive samples that you can't get anywhere else because Shanda made them herself. So you can go ahead and grab that link for as long as Shanda decides to keep that link live. You can grab it. Go ahead and grab it. Cool. It is in the chat. I think that link will probably be live for probably like a week or so. Something like that. Okay, so there you go. So you got a week to go ahead and download Shanda's super high fire, so you can go ahead and make fat beats like everybody else on here. Last call for some questions in the chat. The question is, do we do these regularly? We go through spurts here with Circuit Jam. We've had if you dig back on our YouTube page, you can find the previous sessions we did. I think we did 2 sets of 3 previously for Circuit Jams. This one is I think one of 3rd set, though you'll probably end up getting what I see Evan giving me a 4. What's the 4?
It's 4.
Is it really? Have we done so many? Okay, well, you guys are keeping me on track. But so this one will probably be the first in the new series. We don't quite know what it's going to be. I don't know if it's going to continue to be circuit versus rhythm. Rhythm versus tracks, or if we'll focus on tracks and one on rhythm, or what. But we'll figure it out once you guys tell us. You let us know what you want to see. Did you like seeing the differences between tracks and rhythm, or do you want to see an all rhythm jam or an all tracks jam? Let us know in the comments. We will definitely feed through them and figure out what comes next. So last call for questions in the chat. All right, looks like we're
someone
good.
Asked for links.
Links for?
Oh, to follow us.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh yeah. So I don't know if you want to do a shameless artist plug. Okay. You guys all go ahead and shout out your artist names and your IGs. Go ahead. Shanda, you first.
All right. It's Trovarsi official. It's Trovarsi official.
Very cool. And where's that? Yep. Trovarsi official where?
All the social platforms.
All the socials.
Yep.
Got it.
Yep.
Johnny Podcast, do you want to provide your special artist stuff? You don't have to.
Not much there to see, so not at the moment. I'm a ghost producer at the moment, but maybe the next time we'll see.
Perfect. Mr. Kody Stanridge, do you want to go ahead and add your socials?
Yeah. Or just go to thethirdeye.com. So THATHIRD.
Branding.
The letter I.
Look at that.
Nice.
Branding. Nice. Mr. Evan Weiss, you want to plug your socials real quick?
I'm writing music under DJ Roommate, so that's DJ_roommate. Like my roommate won't do the dishes.
Steady's making beats. Making beats.
I have more circuit videos on my YouTube channel.
They're great.
Yeah.
Very cool. And you're actually in the process of, just like Shanda's got her Trovarsi Connects on our Novation TV YouTube page, Evan is helming our TikTok venture. So
if you want to see me do some dances.
No dances.
Yeah, no, I'm just kidding.
So you will shortly, I believe we're going to start really cranking out our TikTok content. So stay tuned for that.
Yeah, I'm working on it.
Sounds good. I see a request for jams with external gear. We'll keep that in mind. We'll have to figure out how to do that with this many people on the stream, but I think that's about it.
That'd be fun.
Guys and lady, it was awesome. We appreciate it. Great job with the pack, Shanda. You all did an amazing job. Thank you for all of you out there in YouTube world for hanging out with us for this almost an hour. It seemed like it was pretty solid, about 55 or 65 during the stream, and so we appreciate you all sticking with us and checking us out. And stay tuned for the next one. See you all later. Bye.
See ya.